Gibson, what you doing, boy? Okay guys, so I was just editing a video about PRS, funny enough, and I took a break and I was just looking, and on guitar.com this article popped up about something that's going on between Gibson and Jericho guitars. So, you know, Gibson here recently has been very aggressive in the way that they are defending their intellectual property. Whew, hard to say. They just won a lawsuit against Dean, all that kind of stuff. And I should say that I have no, affiliation with Gibson. I don't know anybody over at Gibson. I don't know anybody at Jericho Guitars. I do own some Gibsons, and I like the guitars, but no kind of like, working relationship with them. And so I was reading this article, and pretty much the guys at Jericho Guitars are saying that Gibson has had their website shut down for infringing on their designs. They have guitars that look like Les Pauls, look like Explorers, which I'll talk about that here in just a second, and had the website shut down without ever giving them a notice. Here in the article, like I said, I'll link the article if you want to read it as well. It says, in a post on Facebook, Dave Musselman, CEO and president of Jericho Guitars, accused Gibson of shutting down his personal and business email and forcing him to remove all product listings without establishing any contact whatsoever. Which to me seems crazy that Gibson would do something, not that they would do something like that, try to get website shut down, but to do something like that with no kind of contact, that seems strange to me that Gibson would do that, because it just seems like, well, you gotta like give us a heads up first. So then he says, my business has been for this past week completely unable to accept orders, which again, if you look at their pictures, again, you can't go to the website. The website is down. You can't actually look at it. But if you look at the pictures, they make other guitars that aren't just like Gibson's. Now, what I do want to say though, is the ones that are like Gibson's, my opinion, they're a little too close. Like, without seeing the headstock, I wouldn't know one was a Gibson and one was a Jericho guitar. The Explorer is extremely close. I don't even think they changed the headstock on it. I think those designs are too close, And the way I kind of view it is, think about if you wrote a song. You wrote this big hit song. Say, you're Def Leppard. You wrote "Pour Some Sugar on Me," and then someone comes out with a song called "Poured Some Sugar on Me," and they just play it up a half step. All the same, overall concept of the song. They just changed keys. Like, you'd probably be like, hey, that's my song. You can't do that. So I think in these situations, everyone jumps on, oh, Gibson's being ridiculous and all this kind of stuff. And I just kind of like step back and I'm like, I don't know, if someone took a design that I made, like it's the Les Paul is Gibson's design. I do know there was some kind of issue with when Gibson chose to start defending this stuff. Like, it had been, all these years had passed. So, that could be an issue. But like I said, if it was me, and I'm sure most of you can look at this as well and be like, hey, if someone took something that you designed that had your name on it and then made an exact replica of it and just threw their name on it, I'd be pretty upset. To me, if you go back to the whole PRS versus Gibson battle over the Tremonti, to me, I'm like, that's ridiculous. The Tremonti doesn't look like a Les Paul. Like, it's noticeably different. I don't think anybody who is gonna go out there and try to buy a Les Paul is gonna be like, oh shoot, I meant to buy this, this Les Paul and I accidentally bought a PRS Tremonti. But they've done enough to make it look different. If you are just straight up making essentially a copy of a Les Paul, you're opening yourself up for this stuff. Like, obviously, Gibson is not shying away from going after these people. They're like, hey, if you're not going to put in, I don't want to say effort, because obviously people are putting in a lot of effort into making these guitars, but if you're not going to put in the effort into designing it to make it look even remotely different than what our original design is, we're coming after you. And like I said, you can feel however you want about it. I guess my opinion is, like, I would want to defend what was mine as well. It's very similar in YouTube. Like, for me, if I play somebody's copywritten music, I'm opening myself up for a copyright claim where they can claim the monetization of the video. They can take the video down if they want to. All of these things are options. That's part of it. So if I get in trouble for playing copyrighted music, which I've never gotten a strike or anything like that, but I've gotten videos demonetized, or we share monetization, or whoever owns the rights to the song just takes all of the money, like whatever it is, like that's just part of it. Like, you kind of know that going into it. You can argue fair use, you can argue it's a react, it's educational, all that kind of stuff if you want to, but at the end of the day, they do own the rights to it. So in this situation, it's tough because the guitars that I looked at looked so much like Gibsons. The Explorer in particular, if you took the headstock and just sanded it off and put a Gibson logo on there, legit wouldn't know that it wasn't a Gibson unless you ran the serial number. I don't know, that stuff's tough for me. I think that Gibson's gonna get a lot of hate for this. There's probably gonna be a whole bunch of videos made about this topic. I think that they are probably like overly aggressive at times, and I think that's what fires everybody up, because Gibson is the big company and they're going after all of these smaller companies. So that's just, it's kind of the nature of it all. Like, people are going to want to side with the smaller brand over a big, corporate monster like Gibson. But, a lot of times I view it, I'm like, well, what would I do? I'm like, well, I would want to defend what I thought was mine. So, I don't know. I'd be curious to see what you guys think about that. Like I said, you can read the whole article, link down below if you want to. And I'm going to bounce on out here. I just thought I would talk about it. I was just chilling here, and I'm like, you know what? I'm turning the camera on, and I'm going to have a little chit-chat with you guys. So, anyways, I'm out of here, guys. Bye, homies.